What's up everyone, I'm Duncan and welcome to a Gen 8 discussion video. That's right, Pokemon Sword and Shield trailer dropped today. But before we get into it, I do want to give a quick shout out to one of my sponsors, Elgato, because the best way to capture Gen 8 of Pokemon is going to be with an Elgato capture card. So click the link in the description down below to find out more. Right, with that said, go watch the trailer. If you haven't watched the trailer yet, there are going to be spoilers in this video. I'm going to be doing a full trailer breakdown and region analysis. And I think region analysis is the focus here. Everybody can watch the trailer and there isn't that much hidden information. I'll try and point out what is hidden, but the most important thing is going to be the region breakdown because I think it's really important and I think the region looks really, really cool. So switching over to our region map here, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top, but we are going to take a look at the region as a whole because there's something I've noticed which I think is really quite cool if I'm right. And I like to think that I'm right. So, first of all, I was right. It is in the UK, but that's not that impressive when I was told by somebody who's very, very close to the whole project that it was in the UK. That's, you know, kind of a given. So there we go. Regions in the UK. I was told that. I knew that. I told you guys that. You're welcome. Welcome to our UK region. And taking a look at it as a whole, it's a sword. The region of Pokemon Sword and Shield is a sword, and I think other people have mentioned it, but I noticed it very, very quickly as soon as I saw the map. As you can see, this tower up here is the hilt and pommel, and then that's the handle, by the way, for anyone who's wondering. It's the handle of the sword. So we've got a hilt and pommel here, and it's sort of facing downwards. We've got the cross guard in the shape of this river here, and then down from there, we've got sort of the tang, and then the region makes with the tang ending here, and then the region is a blade. It's very long, it's very thin, it's a sword. It's not exactly a sword because that would be way too on the nose, but it's definitely modeled after a sword, which I think is super cool. I think it fits into the whole theme. I'm going to be talking in another video about the themes of this and what I think the legendary themes are going to be with the Sword and Shield logos, with the dog heads and all of that good stuff. I've also got some more information, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed to leak it yet. So I have messaged my source and been like, hey, now that the trailer's hit, can I leak this? And if I do, I'll have a discussion video about that as well. So starting at the bottom of the region, because that's where we start, this yellow thatched roof house is our house. And we can see that in the trailer 17 seconds in. I do have screenshots of most of this, but we do just skip to this. So as you can see, we've got a yellow thatched roof. It's very idyllic, southern UK, south of London, you know, Somerset, like all the farmland areas, maybe Devisors, shout out to Game Boy Luke, all of those sort of areas. So really idyllic village setting with the thatched roofs and the old style like Tudor houses, all of that stuff. I'm not sold quite on the aesthetic here. I think there's a little bit left to development. I think there's more going to be put in. I think that the textures aren't quite finished, stuff like that. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Anyway, so that is our starting area. And if we look here, that's our starting house, that yellow house here. And we've got the sort of curved road down from the house and into the village. Up here, we have a purple house, which we do see later in the trailer has a battle arena, which you can see in the map. It's teeny tiny, but you can see it on the map here. Teeny tiny, a battle arena there. So that's probably going to be the battle school or the professor's house. And you're going to go up there, get your first Pokemon. Then, so you go up through the village, get your first Pokemon. I don't know. I'm just theorizing at this point, kind of theorizing the journey through the region with you guys. If you've got any corrections, please let me know in the comments down below. But then we've got our village, and we saw a lot of this village, and I think it's really quite pretty. Taking a look at the village here from over this bridge, so the bridge just by your house, you can see the whole village there, the purple house on the right, and it lines up perfectly. If we look here with this window capture, that we've got that bridge here, the window capture, map capture. We've got the bridge here, and then we've got the purple house on the right, and then the right house is on the left. This is a train station, which is really interesting, that there's a train station in the very first town. So we're going to sort of complete the first town and then get on a train. So I'm a little worried that this is going to end up being like a tutorial region, and the sort of end of tutorial is you getting on the train here. And the train can go to one of two places. There are two sort of stations it can go to. Go through the mountain here and come out at this station up here, or it can go through the mountain here, up here and into this city here. back to that screenshot we were just on, though, you can see that it's sort of very much trying to capture that UK small town feel. And I think anybody from a UK small town will feel this more than people like me from a big city. But I know that Luke especially felt that this was perfect. It reminded him of home. He's from a small farming town, so, you know, there you go. And it's sort of hills in the background, fields in all different colors, the patchwork fields, which England's very famous for. It's a really, really pretty site, so I think it's very, very nice, and it's done really well. Moving up our train track here, we've got a sort of Lake District-based area, so I think it's based on the Lake District. We've got this castle here, which I think is going to be... We're going to find out some of the history of the region! Exposure! And then we'll either head to the main city through this gate here, up this route here, to this sort of Stonehenge-based area, or we'll go back home and we'll take the train to the city. But I do think that we're actually going to enter through this gate, and then we'll take the train back if we ever want to leave our big London city and go home. And I think the trains are going to end up being a kind of fast travel system, which those of you in the UK, yes, you should worry, because it's probably going to cost you about 90% of the money you make from trainers just to make the bare minimum of train trips, because our train system is just that expensive. Moving on to this London-like city, I do think that this is the London-based city. This is very reminiscent of the Houses of Parliament Tower, also known as Big Ben, although Big Ben is just the bell inside. It is known as Big Ben. It looks the same shape, but it is a little different. We do have a Pokeball as the clock instead of a clock. Now, that could just be from one side, because it does look on the map itself like a clock and not a Pokeball. It's difficult to tell, very zoomed out, but it does look like a clock. It doesn't quite look like that Pokeball window. So it could be a clock on two sides and then a window on two sides or something like that. But for now, Big Ben has a Pokeball on it, which is a thing. The city looks fantastic. Where I thought the village areas might be lacking a little graphically, the city looks like they've really put some effort in, and I think it actually looks way, way better. I hope the whole game ends up looking like this. It looks very Victorian-era London, sort of industrial age, maybe even Industrial Revolution London. We've got a train shooting by on an overhead track there, which as a Londoner, well, not really I'm Scottish, but I was born in Zimbabwe, but I grew up in London. That's important. I am a Londoner. The overhead train tracks, they're all over London. We love them. It's just a piece of town. So I like it. I do like the overhead train tracks and all of that. I think it looks great. Moving on from London, we see the first of these structures, which are then spread all over the map. We've got one here, number 2 here, number 3 here. We've got number 4 here, number 5 here. I'm assuming there's one in this city here for 6. And I'm assuming there's another one in here for 7. And then I think this might count as one for number 8. It's a bit of a different one. But I think that these are our gym buildings. I think actually pretty much certainly these are our gym buildings, and I think that because of these screenshots. So if we go here and take a look, we see this, and this is the grass gym. You can see the big grass logo. It has this sort of gym logo on it, and our trainer approaching, ready to get his badge. If we go back to the window capture, we can see this gym right here on the map. I believe it's the first gym, but we may have a gym in the city that we can take on first, and there may be others that I haven't spotted or are hidden in some mountains or forest areas. There is a big forest area in the trailer, so I could be wrong, but I believe that that is our first gym. And then, very, very interestingly, inside the gym, and we know that this is inside the gym because this uniform, I'm not going to show it here because I don't have a screenshot, but on the shoulder pad has the same logo as outside the gym, is a football stadium, and you get into a football costume, and then you go and you fight a battle, and they show in the trailer fighting a Tyranitar. Please do watch the trailer yourselves, guys. It's going to give you way more context here, but they show you fighting a Tyranitar. I think it's really cool. It's really interesting. It's a good way to do the gyms. I'm not even a football fan. I don't actually like the sport of football, which I think makes me have to forfeit my Britishness, but I'm not a fan. I'm a rugby boy. I grew up playing rugby. It's just the way it is. Rugby versus football, one or the other. You're not allowed to like both. I forbid it. But no, I'm not a football fan. But I do think it's quite a cool touch. And it's a nice little UK nod there with the gyms being football stadiums. Back to our map. We then move up the map to this. Oh, this is such an interesting little detail, and I do want to stop here for actually quite a while. So here, this icon on the hill, I'm going to come back to this. So this is a lovely detail. I'm going to come back to it, but I'd like to cover the rest of the map first and then do that in a lot more detail. So moving on, we've got this city. I think this is where the royal family is going to be, just because of this sort of crown-like structure. It looks very much like the British crown on the top of the building, and we've got a dragon gate to get in. So there is going to be some reference to dragons, and I think that that's important. We do have the Welsh dragon in the UK, and then there's the King Arthurian legends, which have 2 dragons. We've got the Knights theme from the shield and sword logo, and normally those refer to legendaries, so maybe the Guardians are going to be a shield knight and a sword knight, and they've got the dog's heads. Not really sure what the dog's heads are about, but we'll find out. If I get any more information that I'm allowed to leak to you guys, obviously I will let you know as soon as I'm allowed to leak it. Moving up from here, we have this Ice Palace area, which I think is quite cool. We've got this sort of mine area. There was a mine in the game, so in the trailer, there was like a glittery gemstone mine. And then we've got this sort of dockland area down here, which could be like a Liverpool nod with all of this. We've got sort of docks in all of it and water in all of it. So maybe a Liverpool nod, maybe a Manchester nod with this town. I think they've sort of mixed the UK region up quite thoroughly, though. Like, things are all over the place. I do still hope we get some Scottish references. That would be great. We've got a weird thing here with this sort of blocked area, and then you go through this cave and you end up in a sort of fairy forest. So I'm assuming this will be a fairy gym. Hopefully we find our little leprechaun Pokemon here. I do want to see some British mythology Pokemon, so that would be great. We have what looks like the Elite Four area. This is not, it's on top of a mountain. It's got a big gate. You take a little tunnel here, and then you go on a train, and then there's what is probably Victory Road. You get up here to this mountain. But what's strange is there's a city, a whole city behind the Elite Four area. And there's another clock tower. And now a lot of people have been saying, this is Big Ben, because the London Eye is there and what looks like the Millennium Dome. And London's been transplanted to the north. And I'm hoping that's not true. I do want to see this as a little more of a Scottish region. It's north of the mountains. It should be a Scottish region. It really should. But if it isn't, this could be Big Ben. But, and this is a fun but, this to me doesn't look like Big Ben, because Big Ben has a steeple roof like this. Actually, a steeple roof like this one here with the straight edges. This has a curved in roof that then comes up into a point, like is it called an oblique? I'm not 100% sure. But it comes up. It's a curved roof and it comes up into a point. And that to me looks like a very famous steeple in Glasgow called the Tolbooth Steeple. To me, it looks like that, but it is attached to a building or behind a building that looks a little bit like the Houses of Parliament, so we could see a bit of a London mix up in the north as well. And while I'm not the biggest fan of that, I don't hate it, so we'll let it slide. London can be all over the place. I mean, they put New York all over black and white. The whole region was based on New York, so why not splash some London around in what should have been our Scottish city? I'm not salty about that at all. But it does look like this is the Elite Four. Maybe the Elite Four is even this tower, which is the pommel. Maybe the very pommel of our sword of our region is our Elite Four. So I think that that's really interesting. It's really cool. It looks really good. And there's a lot to be seen here with these gyms. I don't know what typings the gyms can be. Let's have a guess. You can guess down in the description down below. We know this one's grass. I think this one's going to be water. It's out on the water, so that makes sense. This one, ice, I guess. It's white and black, so maybe ice, maybe dark. They can mix it up. This one here, I think, is going to be rock, because we saw them fighting a Tyranitar, so not ground. I think maybe rock, just because we saw the fight of Tyranitar. So grass, rock, fairy, water, ice/dark, and then the city ones are obviously impossible to guess. Back to our Chalk Man. Now, this is clearly based on the Chalk Giant. So I'm going to show you from the trailer what this looks like. And then I'm going to show you the Chalk Giant, because this is the Chalk Man from the trailer. As you can see, it's a Pokemon. There's actually a big theory that this Pokemon is the fusion of Reshiram and Zekrom, not to be confused with Reshiram and Kyurem or anything like that. Reshiram and Zekrom were originally one dragon in the lore, and they split in two, and this seems to have elements from both. It's got fire and electric, which is interesting. It's got the tail, which is very much the shape of that sort of stylized version of the shape of that tail. So maybe it is. Maybe we're going to get the origin of the black and white dragon, which is the Reshiram Zekrom fusion. Maybe it's one that never split up because they split up for some reason in order to make friends with Kyurem. I'm really not sure. The lore's a little confusing, but there we have it. We have our chalk giant legendary. It's clearly going to be a legendary. It's got to be a legendary on the side of this mountain in the town with the first gym, the grass gym. And then we have the chalk giant in Dorset. Now, the Dorset chalk giant has been censored here. He doesn't wear trousers. So, talking of trousers, quick segue. We get to wear trousers in this game. Duncan got one of his wishes. Look, they're trousers. They're not shorts. We're not wearing shorts. We're wearing trousers. Yes. Now, back to this. He doesn't wear trousers, so we've had to censor him for YouTube's. I didn't want to get demonetized. Sorry, guys. I like to make a living. We've hidden his naughty bits, and this is our chalk giant. And then back to our chalk man. I think it's a really obvious reference. It's on the hillside in the same kind of way. It's a very, very famous chalk carving. We do have quite a few chalk carvings in the UK. There is, of course, the famous chalk horse, but the chalk horse is on the ridge of a mountaintop. It's not on the side of a mountain. And this is on the side of a mountain, and it looks very much like a giant. So I'm going to go ahead and say, in my opinion, this is based on the Dorset chalk giant, which means in my mind, I'm going to be treating this little area here as Dorset. That's the map sort of gone over and everything in the trailer, except for the thing that I think a lot of you want my opinion on. A lot of people have been asking me this on Twitter, which is my favorite. We have our starter Pokemon. So we're going to start off with the first starter Pokemon they showed us, and that is Scorbunny. They actually showed me my favorite starter first. I know it's generic. Scorbunny is my favorite starter. I know a lot of people are complaining that it looks like he's got a plaster on his face and he's going to be a fighting type. It's not actually a plaster. When you see it from another angle, when it turns the camera, you see that it's sort of indented. It's a lack of fur. So he doesn't have fur there. It's sort of a lack patch of fur. And on his feet, he has two more of the same patch. And when he's running on the wheel at the start of the trailer, you see him kicking up sparks with those feet. And then when he touches the grass, his feet are on fire and set the grass on fire. I think this is how Scorbunny makes fire. I know it's a bit of a out there. Wow, Duncan, reaching! That's the biggest reach you're going to see in this whole trailer. But I think that those patches are how Scorbunny makes fire. I think that when he uses his face, you're going to see him like wiggle his nose or something and the patch will crackle and make fire. And then on his feet, he hits them on things and he's like a thumper bunny and he's like dun 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 dun, and he makes fire. And because of that, because I choose to believe that and I choose to believe he's not going to be firefighting, please don't let him be firefighting. He's my favorite for now. We haven't seen the final evolutions, but for now, this is my favorite starter Pokemon. I love him. He's adorable. Beryl loves him too. Beryl really wants him to be based on Peter Rabbit, and she wants like a very Peter Rabbit-esque final evolution. I think I'd be much happier with like a big, swole, bunny thing that maybe pure fire or fire electric would be cool. Maybe he could learn to use the pads for static electricity by rubbing them against each other or something like that. Super cool just to have a really unique Fire Bunny starter. And then we have my second favorite, Sobble. Look at this good boy. He's a chameleon and he goes invisible when he's wet, which is super cute. He's telling people to look at a very specific part of his anatomy, which we hid on the chalk giant earlier. He's like, yeah, you hit it on the chalk giant, but look at mine. Look at how his hands are, his little pinchy feet. He's super cute. He's got pinchy feet. He reminds me of like a baby Chameleos from Monster Hunter, and very quickly could become my favorite starter if he has a really, really cool final evolution. Look how adorable he is. He's like a little sad, like chameleon, like water boy. And he just comes out of the water. He's like, oh, I'm invisible. Oh, I'm climbing down. He's so adorable. And now for my least favorite of the starters, we've got Grookey. Grookey is cool. He's not my favorite. He's just, he's the least imaginative. He's got the least sauce, in my opinion, of all the starters. He is cute though. I like him. He's cool. And yeah, maybe I'll get one and I'll use it, but I don't think he's going to be my main unless his final evolution is absolutely boolin', the best of all time. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please remember to leave a like. Remember to comment down below with your own opinions about the region and all of that stuff. As soon as I find out what I'm allowed to tell you guys from the stuff that's been leaked to me, and as soon as more official news comes out, I'll be making videos on all of that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time.